Recording started.
Thank you, Brenda. So thanks for joining today for the second part of Power of Rural webinar series. Today we have cybersecurity, not an afterthought. My name is Hannah Wicke and I'm the Director of Operations at the Wyoming Primary Care Association. And I'm pleased that we have Laura Baker of Cyber Wyoming to present on this topic today. I can't tell you how many phishing emails I have received from someone posing as my executive director since we all began teleworking. Laura will provide a comprehensive coverage of phishing today. Please use the chat box as we go along through today's presentation to pose any questions. Anything we aren't able to address today will be sent to Laura to answer after today's webinar. The questions and answers will appear in the follow-up communications. And with that, I would like to introduce today's speaker. Laura Baker is the Executive Director of Cyber Wyoming, a 501c6 nonprofit. Cyber Wyoming believes that managing cyber risks involves a mind shift, so they have created a methodology with social work techniques to motivate organizations to grab the cyber bull by the horns. Thanks for joining us today, Laura.
Thank you for having me today. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, sounds good. She gave me a great intro, so I'm going to skip on. I just want to tell you a tad bit about Cyber Wyoming. We don't sell hardware, software, or implementation services. So I'm not here today to sell you anything, obviously. The Wyoming Primary Care Association wouldn't allow me to be here for that anyway, but I just wanted to reassure you. What we do is we have a 501c3 arm that is for education, outreach, and awareness. That's the Cyber Wyoming Alliance, and that's how I'm here with you today. We run a apprenticeship program for workforce development for technology workers. We're 512 short technology workers in the state, so we're working on making that gap a little bit smaller. And then we also run a business education and awareness program, which we call our economic development program, and it's the Made Safe in Wyoming program. We don't do this by ourselves. We have a lot of organizations and companies that join this effort. One of them you probably are aware of, being from the healthcare world. Campbell County Health is one of our members, and they're very active in the Gillette community and working on raising the overall level of awareness and education on cybersecurity issues in Gillette. So I wanted to start with a funny video. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. His name is James Veach, and he is absolutely hysterical. This is a TED Talk. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I wanted wanted you guys to hear it. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Let me go back. Play. There we go. Can everybody hear it okay? Thumbs up if you can. Okay.
A few years ago, I got one of those spam emails. And it managed to get through my spam filter. I'm not quite sure how, but it's turned up in my inbox, and it was from a guy called Solomon Odonka. I know. It went like this. It said, hello, James Veach. I have an interesting business proposal I want to share with you, Solomon. And my hand was kind of hovering on the delete button. Right? As I was looking at my phone, I thought I could just delete this. Or I could do what I think we've all always wanted to do. And I said, Solomon, your email intrigues me. And the game was afoot. He said, dear James Veach, we shall be shipping gold to you. You will earn 10% of any gold you distribute. So I knew I was dealing with a professional. I said, how much is it worth? He said, we will start with a smaller quantity. I was like, ah. And then he said, of 25 kilograms. The worth should be about 2.5 million. I said, Solomon, if you're going to do it, let's go big. I can handle it. How much gold do you have? He said, it's not a matter of how much gold. How much is you're capable of handling? What? We can start with 50 kilograms as a trial shipment. I said 50 kilograms? There's no point doing this at all. There should be at least a metric ton. So what do you do for a living? I said I'm a hedge fund executive bank manager. This isn't the first time I've shipped bullion, my friend. No, no, no. Then I started to panic. I was like, now look, where are you based? I don't know about you, but I think we're going by the postal service. It ought to be signed for. Like, that's a lot of gold. He said, oh, not be easy to convince my company to do a larger quantity shipment. I said, Solomon, I'm completely with you on this one. I'm putting together a visual for you to take into the board meeting. Hold tight. This is what I sent Solomon. I don't know if we have any statisticians in the house, but there's definitely something going on. I said, if someone attach this email, you'll find a helpful chart. I've had one of my assistants run the numbers. Really, we should make as much gold as possible. There's always a moment when they try to tug your heartstrings, and this was it for Solomon. He said, I will be so much happier if the deal goes well, because I'm going to get a very good commission as well. And I said, that's amazing. What are you going to spend your cut on? And he said, on real estate, what about you? I thought about it for a long time. And I said one word. Hummus. It's going place. I was in Sainsbury's the other day, and there are like 30 different varieties. Also, you can cut up carrots, and you can dip them. Have you ever done that? Solomon! He said, I have to go to bed. Till tomorrow. Have a sweet dream. I didn't know what to say. I said, bonsoir, my golden nugget. Bonsoir. Guys, you have to understand, this has been going for like weeks, albeit hitherto the greatest weeks of my life, but I had to knock it on the head. It was getting a bit out of hand. Friends were saying to me, James, do you want to come out for a drink? I was like, I can't, mate. I'm expecting an email about some gold. You know? So I figured I had to knock it on the head. I had to take it to a ridiculous conclusion. So I thought I concocted a plan. I said, look, Solomon, I'm concerned about security. When we email each other, we need to use a code. And he agreed. And I said, Solomon, I spent all night coming up with this code. We need to use it in all further correspondence. Lawyer. Gummy bear. Bank, cream egg. Legal, fizzy cola bottle, plain peanut M&Ms, documents, jelly beans, Western Union. Guys, a giant gummy lizard. I knew these were all words they used, right? I said, please call me Kit Kat and all further correspondence. I didn't hear back. I thought I've gone too far. So I had to backpedal a little bit. I said, look, Solomon, is the deal still on? Kit Kat. Because you have to be consistent. Then I did get an email back from him. He said, the business is on, I'm trying, blah, 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 blah. I said, dude, you have to use the code. What followed is the greatest email I've ever received. I'm not joking. This is what turned up in my inbox. This was a good day. The business is on. And I'm trying to raise the balance for the gummy bear. So he can submit all the needed fizzy cola bottle jelly beans to the cream egg for the peanut M&Ms process to start. Then 1,500 pounds via a giant gummy lizard.
Okay, so if you want to watch the rest of that, it's a TED Talk. His name is James Veitch, V-E-I-T-C-H, and he is hysterical. And if you ever hear of anybody being the victim of a phishing attack, send this to them. It'll make them feel a lot better. But how could we tell that some of the emails that he was receiving what were the warning signs? And so the warning signs were Solomon Adonka is probably not a name that most Americans would have. I mean, there are definitely some ethnic names out there, but that's probably not it. It was totally unsolicited. It had poor grammar and misspellings. It appealed to your emotions, and it talked about wire transfers. So all of those 5 ingredients are definitely warning signs that it could be a phishing email. And I'm going to go and we're going to play a game called Real or Not Real, so that you guys can see some other phishing emails and kind of try and hone your skills. By the end of this, you guys are going to be experts at spotting a phishing email. So this one came in when Sears and Kmart were actually, viable. So this was in 2016. And it says, our company invites you to be part of the secret servers or secret customers team. We offer free shopping and extra money in exchange for your sincere opinion. Show your interest in helping us develop our customer services by completing the following application form. And this is what the application form looked like. So they were asking for your name, your address, and your phone number and your email address. So you can put this in the chat window, or you can just do it in your head, either way, but is this real or not real? I'm just going to give you a second. Okay, I don't see anything in the chat, so I'm just going to tell you it is not real. And the reason it's not real is because SearsHoldings.com is a fake domain. They actually just went out and created one on GoDaddy or one of those places. And it's also going to moremillions.com/hire. So none of these domains are actually affiliated with Sears or Kmart. So that's a really good indicator that this is not a real email. This one, and I'm going to blow it up just so you can see it, but it's really well done. I mean, it's not quite as jicky as the last one. And it says it's from DirecTV, and it says, thanks for choosing us, AT&T. And so is this real or not real? It's well written. It's got the branding. The thing that made me nervous about this one when I first saw it was I didn't know if DirecTV was actually owned by AT&T. And I had to look it up and find out that it is owned by AT&T. And this actually is a real email. So here's another one. This is from the Apple Store. This was sent in 2017. Your account has been locked for security reasons. We'll hold your account for 1 week from the date of this email. After that, your account informations aren't updated. Your account will be terminated and you will not be able to use it. So this already has a misspelling. So from those 5 factors that we were talking about with the James Beach video, that is a clue. This is not real. And if you hovered over the Apple ID from the sender, you would see that it was from norep@flax.com, which is obviously not Apple. So they're asking you to sign in so they can steal your Apple credentials. And they probably have a fake landing page on the end of this sign in button. But the clues for this are the information's misspelling, and they're asking you to sign in and follow the instructions. So those are 2 good clues for this not real example. So this one was actually sent to me just a few months ago by somebody from Wyoming. They said, is this real or not? I can't tell. Because on the red box there, it says, do you own? And they actually did own the address that it had on there, and they were talking about mortgage relief. And so I had to actually look this one up because there isn't enough text here to have misspellings or anything like that. But when I went and looked up Diamond Tech and Dover, Delaware, down at the bottom, the company doesn't exist. So this is not real. So always look at the bottom and look up that company and see if it's real or not before you ever click on any buttons or the survey. Okay, this was just sent last week to me by another Wyoming citizen, and it's about their antivirus software. And McAfee is a well-known antivirus software brand, and it says that this protection will soon expire. And so how do you tell if it's real or not real? And it even had their name up in the top where it says redacted of the email. So they knew who this person was that they sent it to. So it's kind of hard. You can definitely look at the buttons and hover, and you can look at the sender. But one of the things that I did here again was I looked up Superstar Internet Consultants at the bottom to find out if it was in Newcastle, Maine, and I couldn't find them. So again, not real. And the other clue was that this antivirus protection was spoofed as the omg@smugsolid.net. So again, it was McAfee. It was not from McAfee. It wasn't from, and so it's definitely something that is not real. Now this one's going around Wyoming as well. I've had 3 emails sent to me asking me if it was real or not. And the first one, I'm just going to kind of read it to you real quick. This one's very well written, so it could be real. Your Amazon Prime membership is set to renew on April 12th, 2020. However, we've noticed that the card associated with your Prime membership is no longer valid. To update the default card or choose one of your choose a new one for your membership, please find the attached document and follow the on-screen instructions. Okay, so this is well written. This could be real, right? But the clue here is, has Amazon ever sent you an attached document in any of their correspondence with you as you've been working with them? So think about that. Then the second one, now this one's just pathetically written. Amazon Prime update on April 26, 2020, and they put a period in there. Due to the large number of accounts coming in from palpability of account, so the Amazon miscapitalized group suspends the account service. I mean, you can't even understand the first sentence. So obviously this one is not real, right? So the first one, maybe, maybe not, but this also asks for the document attached, right? And it's pulling on your heartstrings here, saying your Amazon Prime account will be suspended. So again, it's giving you that sense of urgency. And then the third one that we've seen in Wyoming is, hello, due to a problem with your card, we've been unable to charge your account for $12.99 and applicable taxes for your next 1 month of Amazon Prime. So this is actually written better as well. Your membership benefits are currently suspended. But again, it asks for the document attached and to follow the on-screen instructions. So all 3 of these are asking you for documents. And in my experience, I've never had the real Amazon Prime send me any sort of document to update my credit card information or my Prime membership information. So looking at the first one, they're spoofing the email address with this giant long email address in the background. And that's a clue. The second one is the same way. And the third one is the same way, but they're all different email addresses. So be really, really aware in Wyoming, especially right now for Amazon Prime phishing, because none of these are real, especially with the attachments. The attachments were malicious in all 3 cases. Now this one is very interesting. It actually happened in Canada, but it could happen here as well. And this was from a Canadian hospital, and it was sent to an actual Canadian hospital patient, saying that they may have come in contact with somebody who had COVID at a specific place in Ottawa, the big country in Ottawa. So somebody did some real research on this. But here's the deal, this spreadsheet that was sent, it's an XLSM, and the M stands for macro. And anything coming in on email with macros attached could very well be malicious unless you're expecting it from somebody you trust. So just never download anything like this. And this, I just have to tell you, this was not real. And so this, be aware for this in Wyoming, especially as healthcare, in the healthcare industry, that somebody might try to propagate this same scam in Wyoming. So be really, really aware for this one, because it looks so real and they're doing some serious research behind it. This one, real or not real, this is was from St. Mark's Episcopalian Church in Cheyenne, actually. And I liked this one because this is real, by the way. They were sending this out to the parishioners because somebody had spoofed the St. Mark's Episcopalian Church and was asking for donations on their behalf, and they had no knowledge of it. So they sent this out for real to their parishioners saying, please, you know, unless the solicitation comes directly from us, don't believe it, it's not real. So it's causing our Wyoming businesses also to go into defense mode, which I think is not fun for any of us. If you look at this PayPal, at first it looks really, really good, right? It's got all the right branding, it's got the right colors, but when you look a little bit closer, you find out that there's some clues here. They're talking about applicable legislation, so they're trying to make you a little scared about why you haven't complied with something, which if anybody has a PayPal account, there's very little compliance. They miscapitalized the I in one of the headers. They forgot a period, and they put a period in the wrong place towards the end. And they also left a space here, and they have weird capitalization at the top as well. And if you look at the spoofed email address, it doesn't come from PayPal. And this one was also discovered by a Wyoming citizen. This one is from CenturyLink, and taking a close look at it, I thought that this was not real, but it turned out that it was. And the reason I thought this wasn't real wasn't because it didn't look professional, but because they had all of my account information. They were sending me a security code, but they were not using my name. And so it actually sounded like they didn't know who I was. And so a lot of times these generic greetings and generic endings are another clue that it's probably a scammer. But this one is real. And then this one is just pathetic. And I had to put it out there for grins and giggles because it's from billing confirmation, which is a very generic but from bcraighead60@gmail.com. So it's somebody that doesn't even know how to hide their personal email very well. I actually thought about emailing this guy back and razzing him for how pathetic this was. But in the middle of it, it says, we want to confirm, not confirm, confirm. So apparently you're farming as well, that this purchase is made by you or not. So look at the capitalizations in the middle of that. And then he says it's about PayPal, but he signs it sincerely PayPals. So, and he gives us this phone number, and I actually was really tempted in pulling a James Beach and calling it because I thought it was pretty funny. But you know, this one is transparent, and it's something that is really fun. But you know, you could take this exact same example in your office at your work and say, those of you that can identify the most phishing emails in a quarter get a candy bar or a Starbucks gift card or something like that. And you can make it a fun game in your office, which I would highly recommend that you do, because this can be, and you can put them all up on a slide presentation just like I did here and say, why are these not real? And it makes it a really fun training exercise for your entire staff, and they can say, I got that one, and oh yeah, did you see this? And it just really increases that teamwork towards cybersecurity in your office on phishing. But the other thing that you need to teach people to do, and that I'd like you to learn to do, is to hover. And what hovering is when you just place your mouse over a link or over the from address, and it tells you the actual address underneath it. Now, there are ways that they can spoof that a little bit, but you know, they can redirect and things like that, but it gives you a good clue. So if you look at this email about your PayPal account, under click here to view, it actually goes to brianmalv@chesterdecker.com. And so we know that this is not from PayPal or Yahoo. So that's something, hovering is a great tool that you can use to see if this is legit or not. Here's another one that looked very legit. It was sent to me by another Wyomingite last summer from office365.microsoft.com, which actually sounds like it could be a real domain, right? But when you hit the click here, it goes to forms.gle. It doesn't go to Microsoft. So you know that it's obviously not Microsoft. And there is no product called 365-Secure Internet Security 2020. So that's another thing that you could have looked up. This one is also very interesting because they made a picture of what looked like a PDF, and they linked that picture, and this is from Wyoming as well. They linked that picture to a malicious link where it would ask you to change your Microsoft credentials. So you click on something that looks like a PDF in your email, it takes you to a link, and it changes and where you're asked for your credentials, and then they steal your credentials. this invoice, that looking thing from that looked like a PDF, came from a known vendor that they had good relationships with, who had been spoofed. The vendor knew nothing about it. So just be aware that if you send your invoices through the email, make sure you do it through secure email, so that they can download it. Don't send it this way, because people are getting more and more suspicious of this, and it might affect your revenue. But it isn't just email, it's also smishing, which is text phishing. And this is also from somebody in Wyoming. And I wanted to read you, it's a little hard to see because some of these might be too small, but it starts out with, "Hello, madam, my name is Agent Thomas McCarthy." So he has an official sounding title. And sounding official is one of the first ways that these scammers try to get a hold of us. And then he says he's from the Board of Home Improvement of the Home Improvement Grant Office. So now he has an official sounding agency as well. And then he really just pushes it home. And there's a redacted name here, but it's a friend's name of of the person that received this text. So it's somebody she trusts. And they sent a text. Agent McCarthy says that this person sent a text to him saying that she wanted to apply for a grant from their board. So it goes on like that. He talks about the grant program, how it has $2 billion to give, and each person can qualify for $100,000. All you have to do is tell us your name, address, your mother's maiden name. And if you look at all of this information, it's all the stuff that you need to be able to crack your bank account, to be able to call in. And so that's kind of scary. But then he keeps going on and he says that, "Please fill out the information here. I guarantee you 100% that your information is safe with us. Answer the questions alone." So he's trying to isolate her, which is a typical, psychological technique that hackers and other people, abusers, will use. And send the correct answers to me here now. So he's creating a sense of urgency and a sense of isolation. And then towards the end, it says, "Don't disclose your winnings to anyone until you get your money delivered to you. We do this to make sure the real winners claim their money." So he pulls on their emotions and tells them to keep it a secret. So all of these things are giant warning symbols. And unfortunately, this poor woman did lose a little bit of money. So, just be aware that this is out there on text as well as email. There's a good rule of thumb about government agencies, since that guy, Agent McCarthy, sounded like he was coming from a government agency. There's a good rule of thumb that government agencies do not email or text you. However, there is one exception that I discovered just last week, and that is the U.S. Census Bureau. The Household Pulse Survey or the Business Pulse Survey, they are emailing you right now. And it looks a little bit like this. Excuse me. Stephanie Freeman is a valid person from the Dallas Regional Census Office. I've talked to her myself. And they are sending this out on this, and it's a COVID survey. The Business Pulse and the Household Pulse is a COVID survey. So they are sending it out. But the thing is, if you do receive this, go directly out to their website. Do not click on any link, because I guarantee you one of these scammers is going to catch on that the Census Bureau is sending these emails, and they're going to spoof them. And they're going to copy and paste word for word, including the Stephanie Freeman's name and logo and everything there. But they're going to redirect this HTML link, this website link, to a malicious link. So if you get one of these emails, go directly to the census.gov site and find the survey there. Do not click on a link in an email. And be sure to tell your friends and family about this as well, because this is a big one. But you might also get some pop-up errors occasionally. And so I wanted you guys to look at this and tell me what's wrong with this pop-up error. My dad actually gave me this one. Anyone? So it says Google Chrome critical error, and then it says contact Microsoft. So it's somebody that doesn't even know that Microsoft and Google are not the same company, and that Microsoft would never support Google Chrome as a browser. So it's somebody that does not know our corporate structure in the US that created this. Yeah, thanks, Kyle. It is kind of funny. So just be aware when they're mixing companies like that. And here's another one. PayPal, they're talking about, they sent it through Yahoo, and they used, but they're talking about PayPal here. So again, that's another one where they don't know the corporate structure very well. So now you have all this great practice. How do you communicate it to the rest of your team? And I'm going to give you a couple ways to do it. You write a phishing policy, and you don't have to do this from scratch, because the fcc.gov has a great cyber planner where you can do an email policy. And also my favorite is cyberreadinessinstitutes.org. Both of them are totally free programs and don't ask you for any information, except for maybe like your company name and an email address, and how big your company is, because they need to write more grants to keep funding their good work. But I'm going to actually walk you through the cyber readiness phishing policy template in this presentation, and you actually get a copy of this. Hannah has a copy of it. I sent her an email to one, and you guys can have this afterwards. And if you like the Cyber Readiness Institute phishing template, they have one for passwords, they have one for USB and thumb drives, and they have one for patching. And they also have an incident response checklist. So it's a really great program for beginners. There's no technical jargon at all. Anybody can do it. Mandy Davis of the High-Vis here in Laramie was one of the 19 internationally chosen beta site testers for the Cyber Readiness Institute program. And she's an HR manager, and she said it was easy and fun, and she enjoyed it. So just keep that in mind. It is not technically oriented at all. So as I was talking, you guys probably read this, but basically it has a place for your logo. You can copy and paste into and replace the generic org with your company name, and you just would remove the note to the leader section. And then you would review the purpose and the scope and see if it fits your organization, but you can change it. It's a Microsoft Word document, so you can change it to anything that you want and anything that you think is necessary. And then it looks at the actual policy, and there's only 7 or 8 items on this. So it talks about if an email is from an unknown sender, do not provide any personal information or take action by opening an attachment or clicking on a link or entering information into a pop-up box. So we just talked about all of those in our real or not real experiment, right? So a friend of mine at the Small Business Development Center always says, he always tells his clients, make sure that when you're reading every email for work, that you're reading it in a bad Russian accent. And the reason you want to do that is because it automatically makes you more suspicious of that email, whether it's from your mother or your coworker or from somebody you don't know. If you read it in a bad Russian accent, it activates your stranger danger just a little bit more than you normally would. The second one on the Cyber Readiness Institute is if the email is from a known sender, check the identity of that sender before clicking on an attachment in the email. And you can also, it talks about hovering, which you guys just learned how to do. So you can hover over it to make sure everything looks right. So make sure you teach your coworkers how to hover if they don't already know how to do that. Second, if any email contains a link, or third, if any email contains a link or asks you to enter information, carefully check the identity of the sender before taking action. And I usually tell people to add something that says, call the sender if it involves any user ID or password changes or financial information, because that's stuff that would protect your organization. So make sure that you call the sender, because even if you recognize that sender, it could be spoofed. We've had a lot of those where they have looked at like if they took Cyber Wyoming, CYBER Wyoming, and they just left out one letter like an I or changed an I to an L, and when they created their domain, it would be so easy for you to briefly say, oh yeah, I recognize that, instead of, you know, it's a totally different sender. If you open an email that looks suspicious, and I find it very ironic that they misspelled this in number 4, by the way, because it should be an email that looks suspicious. Look at the full email of and the address of the sender, and check the email carefully for errors like grammar and spelling mistakes. So here they are talking about grammar and spelling mistakes, and they have a typo in between open and. But that is absolutely true, and we looked at that in some of our phishing examples. Also, I would add here, be suspicious of all emails that are time sensitive or urgent in nature. Because if that happens, like that text that we were looking at from that lady that sent it to me in Wyoming, if there is drama or a sense of drama in that email, your spidey sense should be tingling that something might not be right. Fifth, if any email does not look legitimate, don't open any attachments. That's pretty good advice. And if you get one, you can report it to Cyber Wyoming at phishing@cyberwyoming.org, or you can report it to any one of these other businesses. The AARP Fraud Watch has a phone number you can call if you don't like email very much. The Better Business Bureau has a scam tracker. The IRS has phishing@irs.gov. The FTC has a complaints. So all of these, even the Social Security Administration, all of these have, and they all have great scam reporting mechanisms. And if you actually lost money, call the FBI right away. They actually have some success with getting your money back if you can call them within 24 hours of a wire transfer. And I got that from an FBI agent in Cheyenne, so I know that for a fact. And they said if you go out to the ic3.gov/complaint, they monitor that very closely. And so that's how they get their cases. Number 6, bring any suspicious emails to the attention of your cyber leader or IT staff. A lot of small businesses in Wyoming don't have IT staff, but it is very easy to create a cyber leader. Mandy Davis of HiViz here in Laramie became that cyber leader, and she was the HR manager. So it's definitely possible to do, especially with programs like the Cyber Readiness Institute, because they are so geared towards the layperson in technology and just making sure that the human factor is taken care of, which is 90% of your battle right there. When receiving a document from an external source, only open it in the read-only protected view. So you get a lot of PDFs a lot of times, and it's very easy to set up your Adobe Reader so that it is in protected view. And these are the steps, and these slides will go out afterwards. So if you don't have time to write the steps down, that's fine, but you could take a quick screen print of exactly what this screen looks like, because this is what it is. And I've redacted it because it had some of my files on it about taxes and stuff, but basically here it is. You go to this area and you check the enable protections, all files, and enable enhanced security. And there you go. And it only takes a few minutes to do this. So it's a great way to protect yourself from PDFs. And you can also do something very similar with Word documents and Excel documents where you can open it in read-only view. So that's the basic phishing policy. The last few things they talk about are for the cyber leader or your IT staff if you have them. And that would be, make sure that you have good antivirus software. You can go out to PC Mag and make sure it has at least 4 out of 5 stars for your review on Google or PC Mag or wherever. Ensure that anti-phishing technology is deployed at the email gateway. Now that's something really important. Most times G Suite, if you use that, or Office 365, if you use that, they have some of that on there. But as healthcare professionals, you also might need some HIPAA protection for secure emails. And there are products out there that you can add on top of it, like Mimecast and Proofpoint. And those actually will have where you can send a secure email where you can put something like this, bracket secure bracket, and then whatever in the subject line, and then it will actually go up to an encrypted server, and you have to, as the patient, you would have to retrieve your email from that encrypted server. And so it is encrypted the whole way. When the patient responds, they can respond on that using that encrypted methodology. And so it is something to think about. They're not too expensive. Last I checked, they were between $2 and $3 per user. So just something to think about for those. And then just, make sure that you have training. The Cyber Readiness Institute says that you need to have a phishing awareness at least annually. I would say at least quarterly. You should do it more often because 91% of these risks come in through emails. And it's such an important email communications tool. We're on email all day. So the last thing they tell you to do is finalize the policy, sign and date it, train everybody, and mark your calendar for reviewing it once a year because technology changes quickly. And so if you just review it once a year, you can update it for things that might have happened in your organization, update it with newer policies from the Cyber Readiness Institute, or anything that you might have learned throughout the year. So now what? It's all about training, and both the Cyber Readiness Institute has all of your training materials already ready on those 4 topics. Here's the one on the phishing topic. So you don't have to do anything but sign up for the program. And it's got some statistics and some stories, but you can supplement it with other things. The FTC has a fabulous phishing training, and it's a 2-page PDF with a quiz at the end. So you could have a 2-month training. The first month could be on the Cyber Readiness Institute. The second month could be using the FTC's information. And then the third month they take the quiz, and you've got a whole quarter's worth of training already. Now the FTC also has, they have 12 cybersecurity modules, and not all of them would apply to small businesses in Wyoming or even healthcare providers, but there's probably 9 out there that would apply to you guys. And so you would have 9 months worth of training from the FTC, and it's 100% free. And they have, you can even order free bulk items from the FTC that are pre-printed and just beautiful, gorgeous booklets, or you can download it yourself and print it yourself. So these are absolutely free and available to anybody that wants them. So just keep that in mind. If you're in Sheridan, the First Federal Bank and Trust has already ordered hundreds of these, and you can get them for free by stopping by the bank. If you need a contact there, contact me after the presentation and I'll hook you up with the right person. But they've been giving them out at the Senior Center there and other places. The other thing, what else you can do is, besides training and policies, is let's talk about how you know if your email address is on the dark web. This Have I Been Pwned, P-W-N-E-D. Some people call it pwned, some people call it owned. I don't know. Anyway, but haveibeenpwned.com will actually, when you type in your email address, it'll tell you whether or not your email has been seen on the dark web. And it's pretty surface level, but it gives you a good idea. So if you type in your work email address there and you've got no breaches this quarter, and then next quarter you type in your work email address and you've got 3, then you know you need to change your password pretty quickly. So it's just something to think about on that maintenance schedule of cybersecurity. So when you review your policies, go check Have I Been Pwned as well. And then again, just a quick reminder, if anything involves finances or a user ID and password, call first. And that's such an easy thing to just train your employees on over and over and over again. What I really like about both the FTC's training program and the Cyber Readiness Institute program is they run cybersecurity more like a public relations or marketing campaign, because they have posters, they have quizzes, they have emails that you can send out to people. And so you could put a poster up over the coffee machine, for instance, at work, and beware the phishers. And this quarter is phishing, and next quarter is passwords, and the quarter after that is thumb drives, and the quarter after that is basic cybersecurity. So you can find this material for free through these programs. And again, you're just running it like a public relations campaign or a business campaign, and you don't have to worry about the technology side of it because they've already got that figured out for you. The other thing that would be really important to train on is cyber psychology. How do they get you to click? We talked a little bit about that sense of urgency, do it alone, that kind of stuff, but they really know these things. I've had people tell me that they're more afraid of an English major with a psychology minor than any technical person out there, because that person can craft a well-written phishing email and really pull on your heartstrings to make it look like it's from somebody you know. They also really know your work schedule, so they will try to hit you more right before lunch because you want to be as productive as you can and not see that email when you get back from lunch, or right before 5 p.m. for the same reasons. You don't want it to sit overnight. You want to handle it and come back in the morning to a clean slate. So those 2 times are areas where you have to be extra aware of clicking or not clicking. But what is the #1 trait to click? Who impulse buys at Walmart? If you're standing at Walmart and you're like, oh, I just want that candy bar right now, That is a high risk trait, is impulsiveness. And so if you impulse buy at Walmart, do a little bit of self reflection and say, I am not going to apply my impulsiveness trait to my email. I'm going to take that extra second and think about it before I click on something, especially if it's right before lunch or right before 5 p.m. The second risk factor, largest risk factor, is whether or not you live alone. If you live alone, you don't have somebody to talk to. And that's why that guy on that text was so clear about, you must do this alone. Because he knew if she talked to somebody like her bank representative or even the Walmart checker or anybody, that person who received that text would be much less likely to fall for his shenanigans. So if you live alone, again, find a buddy right now or as soon as we get off the phone to be your cyber buddy. And that's the person you talk to on no matter what you get on cybersecurity issues. And then the third risk factor is if you have a lower financial literacy level. And I kind of gauge this as, do you balance your checkbook? Do you know how to balance your checkbook? Are you involved with your bank accounts? Those types of things are the types of things that go into financial literacy. You can be an amazing artist and a really smart person, but not have a head for finances. And so this is not to say that you don't have a financial literacy level, but it's more to, again, for your self-reflection to say, okay, how good am I at my own finances? Because if I'm not as good, then I'm at risk, and I need to make sure that I don't fall for some of these things. But remember that there's no shame even if you click. Torrey Smith at the FBI actually said that he has clicked on stuff that he shouldn't, and he knew better. So it happens. And he's with the Cyber Crimes Division. So, these things happen, and you don't need to worry. There should not be shame that's involved with this. It just happens. If you have a friend that clicks on something they shouldn't have, send them that James Beach video, because again, it'll make them feel better. It will take away the shame. The more shame there is, the more we hide it. The more we hide it, the less we talk to each other. Then we can't protect our friends and neighbors from the same scam. So what do you do if you click? Change your password right away and make it a good one. So let's talk about what a good password looks like. Okay, never, ever, ever, ever put your real password into one of these online, okay? So just be aware. Never, ever, 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 never do that. But you can put one in that's similar. So yesterday we were talking about a lot of people use their dogs' names so I'm going to type in Biscuit, and Biscuit's going to be 14 years old. So if my dog and its age is 14, it would take 4 days for that to crack. If I add an exclamation point, it takes 6 years. Still not a great password. But what if we used a passphrase? What if we said, my old house number is 4409? Now it's 62 septillion years. It's going to be pretty tough to crack that. And if that's my old house number from when I was 5, before the internet even existed, then it's pretty hard for them to find that on any of my information. Another woman said to me once, how about if I use my jersey number from volleyball when I was in high school? And she was 40. Of course, nobody's going to remember that. That'd be a great one. My jersey number is 42, exclamation point. There you go. That's a really good phrase to remember, and it's not something that you can forget easily. So again, don't ever put your real password into one of these, but it's a great one to use to find similar passwords to say, Biscuit 13 really isn't a very good password, but this phrase is a pretty good password. Okay. The next thing to do if you click is call your bank if you think there might be a compromise on your accounts. Instantly. They can stop that wire transfer in a few minutes, but they can't stop it 24 hours. If it is 24 hours, or if it is within the 12 to 24 hours, call the FBI right away or email them on that FBI/complaints link that I gave you earlier. Notify customers, coworkers, or vendors that this isn't you. You may have to do it from a personal email account or from a coworker's email account, but make sure that they know it's not you, because hackers try to build trust through the name game. You could also call an IT company to run a scan on your computer if you're not comfortable with doing that yourself, but definitely get your antivirus up to date, make sure it's scanning, and you may even want two on there. You might want to turn on if you use Windows Defender plus another one, or download Malwarebytes and add that to your suite. So that's a good thing as well. And then again, call law enforcement if it involves a big amount, especially. We've had several companies in Wyoming report to me that they've lost $40,000, $70,000, $75,000 due to these fake vendor scams that aren't real. So we have 10 minutes left, and I could go through what else you can do, but the three things were passwords. Make sure that your computer accounts have software updates and the latest software, and that happens all the time. In fact, I just got an Adobe Reader, Adobe Acrobat, and Microsoft products alert to patch now from the Multi-States Information Sharing and Analysis Center. So if you use any of those products, make sure your computer updates tonight for those three products. And if you don't know how to do that, I've got some videos I can show you later. Just email me and I'll show you so that you can check. Control user access and data storage, like thumb drives, for instance. You know, anybody can walk off with a thumb drive. They're so small you can put them in your pocket. So you have to kind of control that user access with that data, and whether that data is walking off or not. You might want to encrypt it, for instance. And then you don't want to give everybody in your entire company administrator access to every computer or their own computers even. You probably want to think about that because they can download anything and introduce all sorts of compromises and vulnerabilities into your office. I had more about that, but if you want to learn more, I'm going to just skip through some of these. Oh, here's one. Do not do that. That's the biggest trick in the book. People will go by, and with your phone, you can just take a picture of what your password is. So don't do that. Anybody can get in. But I wanted to skip through and do one last thing here. If you do those four things, you can get an A in cybersecurity: phishing, passwords patching, user access, and data management. And really, it's just about getting organized. But the thing that I want you to know most of all is that if you want to learn more, there's a competition going on right now. You have to sign up by June 15th. It's totally free. The winners get to speak at the October 7th conference in Casper, Cybersecurity Conference in Casper. But everyone, you know, you'll sleep better at night. And it goes through these types of issues and a lot more. So if you're interested in joining the cybersecurity competition for small business, just contact me. And here's my information. So we have about 10 minutes left for questions, and I wanted to make sure that you had a few minutes left for that.
Great. Thank you for that wonderful presentation, Laura. That was fantastic. I know I actually have a question for you, but I would like to open it to our great attendees. If you want to ask it, if you're joining us by phone, please feel free to ask that question verbally, or if you prefer to post in the chat box, that is an option as well.
And I'll stop my share so we can see each other a little bit easier.
Anybody have a question for Laura before I pose mine? All right. So Laura, we send out a lot of emails to large groups for events like these. Is there anything that we could add to our formatting for our emails as an option so people can feel secure in responding to them?
Definitely. So you could have keywords. Some organizations that send them out, they'll have a keyword per week and they'll post it somewhere that's relatively not public. So like in your signature line, you could have a keyword each week or each quarter or each month, whatever you feel comfortable with. And that might be a positive word for the WPCA, for instance. It could be like, you know, primary care providers are awesome or something like that. You could have a catchphrase. And if they don't see that catchphrase in your signature line, or, you know, a lot of times you'll say sincerely and then HANA. You could say that catchphrase and then HANA. and if they don't see that, then they'll know. So you kind of create a code between you and your users.
Thank you.
It's kind of fun. Artificial intelligence is actually starting to catch on to that. And so some of the new email tools that are coming out are actually saying, Laura Baker always says, thanks, comma, Laura. And so if I actually said sincerely, comma, Laura, then it might be a spoof and it would be flagged. So artificial intelligence is starting to come out like that, which is pretty cool. And I'm looking forward to that to see what happens. But the problem is everything that can be used for good can also be used for evil, right? So I'm worried about the implications that artificial intelligence will have for that too.
We've got a question from Kyle in the chat box. Do you recommend a password management application?
Yes, I mean, if you use one, that is the best way to manage your passwords. I don't recommend any sort of product itself, but some people love Dashlane, some people hate Dashlane. Same thing with KeePass, same thing with Okta, OKTA. And then there's LastPass as well. So those are the top 4 that I've heard about that are in use in Wyoming: OKTA, Dashlane, LastPass, and KeePass. Is it KEYPASS, I think. I know the Wyoming Department of Education uses KeePass, and they like it because it's open source and it's free. But then there's also some paid for ones that have a little bit more administrative. So if you have 10 employees, for instance, and they're all using it, Okta may be easier for administration, so that if an employee leaves and you have a policy set that says everybody must use Okta or Dashlane or LastPass, then you can lock out that employee that leaves as soon as they go. And you can say, okay, by just removing their LastPass, Dashlane, or Okta access.
We have a couple more minutes. Anybody else have a question for Laura?
I'm going to type in James Veach in the chat because he's awesome. If you ever need a laugh about you should see some of the pranks he pulls on his roommate too. But if you ever need a laugh about technology, he's got a few out there, a few TED Talks and a few emails and a few videos, and they definitely will make you feel a little more positive about cybersecurity and phishing.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Laura. This has been a tremendous presentation, and it has been recorded, and we will be sending it out as soon as we, get that uploaded and all the questions posed today transcribed. I will be sending out an evaluation very shortly today after this webinar, and I'll attach that template that Laura had mentioned. If you could please respond to the evaluation, we'd really appreciate it. Within that evaluation is a comment box. We're always looking for the most relevant topics. So if you would like to further explore cybersecurity in any way, please leave your thoughts for where we can, take this an additional step. With that, I thank you all for joining us today. Have a great day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.